Let's break down how the Adam and Eve story is actually directly and written as anti-goddess propaganda. After 25,000 years of women in leadership, living in a matriarchy, worshiping the goddess, Bro Clan created the story of Adam and Eve to convince people of man God. First, they did something very radical and new. They wrote God in the story as a man and made man God the creator of human beings, which is a weird idea because everyone sees that human beings come from women. Then they explained women as coming from men. And they sought to discredit women's voices. So Eve, in the Adam and Eve story, specifically listens to the advice of a snake, which was directly connected to the goddess religion. The goddess is oftentimes symbolized by the snake, and there's a lot of history of the goddess where religious leaders, who are all women, would have rituals with snakes and snake venom for like a cool prophecy effect. They show God punishing women for using their voices, their knowledge, their leadership. They shared the radical idea that men should rule over women and that man God said so, and that people should be ashamed of their bodies and the natural desires that their bodies want, because it's essential to control women and their bodies to sustain a patriarchal religion. And they reframed this incredible power of women to create human beings and to do something so epic, like bringing more people into the world, as a punishment from man God for listening to the snake, the goddess. These were extremely radical and different ideas from the 25,000 years of goddess worship and women being in power. And with only this created propaganda story, and unaliving anyone who didn't agree, it still took Bro Clan like 300 years of huge amounts of violence and telling this story over and over and over for people to come around to God being a man. It's important to understand that the source of the Adam and Eve story was literally to discredit women and their leadership. So of course that story has been used and called back to treat women in all sorts of horrible ways. But the source is not God, not even man God. And if the source is not credible, the information is not credible. And it's time to embrace and celebrate the incredible power and the experience of how well things go when women lead.